And welcome back to Who to Win. A little late, but I'm getting up before the day is over, and I'm going to pre-record Lantern Courts for tomorrow. But this one comes to us from Luke Slaughter, who asked the question: who win in a fight, the Indoraptor from Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom or SCP-096? I can't recall if they all technically have a moniker, a denominator, if you will, or denominator. You know what I mean? Basically, a name that goes with it. Hold on. 096 is referred to as the Shy Guy. That's what it is. So the Indoraptor obviously was the next step in the whole genetic modification for, the dinosaurs to be weapons. We start with the Indominus Rex, and then you basically slimmed it down and made a more compact, dangerous animal. It stood at nearly 11 feet tall and roughly 24 feet in length, and weighed roughly 2,200 pounds, so a little over a ton. It was extremely fast. It was both bipedal and, well, not both bipedal and quadrupedal, but it could switch from all fours to bipedal if it needed to. It was very intelligent, had a great sense of smell, it had a very thick hide that could just basically bounce off bullets. But it was the one we saw was a prototype, and it basically hadn't been modified yet. So it was still very much a wild animal. An extremely powerful bite strength. It was also extremely fast, and it was dangerous. It was a murder machine. SCP-096, the Shy Guy, is a very weird SCP. It basically takes the form. It's a humanoid appearing roughly 2.38 meters high, which. Oh God, meters, 1 meter, hold on. Meters. So 1.2 meters is, 2.38 meters is, it's about 7.8 feet high, or 8 feet tall. Which is pretty tall, but we actually have people on this planet that are actually that tall, so it's actually within a human's range. It has very little muscle mass, and its preliminary analysis of its biomass suggests mild malnutrition. Its arms are grossly out of proportion with the rest of its body. It does seem to have the ability, though, to open its jaw 4 times the norm of an average human, hence the very long mouth here. However, other facial features remain similar to an average human, except its eyes, which are devoid of pigment. No one's sure yet if it's blind or not. It's generally very docile unless you look at its face. If someone were to view its face, either via direct contact, via video recording, or even a photograph, it basically becomes very embarrassed, and it becomes emotionally distressed, and will cover its face and its hands, begin to crying and screaming and crying and babbling incoherently until about approximately 1 or 2 minutes afterwards, to which it will begin running to the person who viewed its face, who will, from that point, that part doesn't matter. Documented speeds have varied from 35 kilometers to an unknown amount of kilometers has been redacted on the site. Sadly, I don't know exactly what that is. I remember actually signing up to be a member of the site, but I can't actually find the redacted. All I know is this thing can move fast. It seems to be dependent on distance from their target. At this point, no known material or method can impede this thing's progress, and in the actual position, it just seems to know where the target is. Upon arriving, it will proceed to kill, and again, it says data expunged, something, their target. My guess is consume or eat. And in 100% of the cases, I've left no trace of the target. After its words, it will sit down for several minutes before regaining its composure and beginning docile again. It will make an attempt to make its way back to its natural habitat. Due to the possibility of mass chain reactions, including breaches of Foundation secrecy, large civilian loss of life, retrieval of the subject should be considered alpha priority. A doctor has pensioned to immediately terminate this individual. Termination order has been approved and has been carried out by Dr. Something to see the incident in Report A. So what happens when they try to terminate it? Basically, has this SCP actually been terminated? Let's see here. The control booth operators lean forward, inverting her reading sensors. Approximately 5 seconds later, steel wall containment cube receives a sizable dent bending outwards. The dent becomes larger before breaking. The creature is seen bending the steel away, frantically trying to escape. Placing Emergency plates drop on the cube as the containment breach is surrounded. Security tape as SCP being blurred out as per containment protocol. 2 security teams enter the room as it breaks out of containment. Live rounds, tranquilizer darts are fired with no visible effect. Approximately 90% of the researchers and security personnel directly viewed the space. Oh god. And Code Lima is declared. The room is surrounded and sealed and flushed with a something class nerve agent. It breaches the site again. So let's see here. Did they ever actually terminate this particular SCP? Very well. Such a statement didn't work. I'm just looking to see what this thing is capable of surviving. Are your own terminators will be scheduled later that day. Upon retrieving your testimony, available footage late is unanimously agreed that agreement of the 05 that you are to be terminated for your part in the gross breach of 0. Well, that's terminating personnel. One last question. Are there scenes you find that break no red? Sorry, I'm just reading this. So apparently this thing can survive live ammo and tranquilizers when it's going in a rampage without any real difficulty, which will make this fight a little bit more difficult for Indoraptor. Now, the Indoraptor's got a severe size advantage, no doubt about it. It's also got probably ferocity of just a pure wild animal, and it's got better equipment for killing. The problem is we actually don't really know how this thing kills people. But does it just try to snap their necks? Does it try to bear hug them to death? It's not really explained how this thing kills people. What is explained, though, is that once it starts kind of getting a move on, it can't be stopped, and it's moving at very high speeds. Like, the low end, if it's 35 kilometers an hour. Now, let me see here. Kilometers to miles. Hold on. Kilometers to miles. So 35 kilometers is the equivalent of 21 miles. That's actually not terrible, but still, that's about as fast as, like, the fastest human. I think the fastest human can run up to, like, 25 miles, something like that. So it's still well within the ballpark, but the fact that they redacted the actual speed this thing can move at means this thing can probably, and I'm just going to guess here, throw a random number here, maybe hit like 100 kilometers, which is roughly like cheetah speed, at least, or even faster, seeing as no obstacle can seem to impede this thing. So what would ultimately just happen is Indoraptor would end up seeing the thing's face for too long, which would cause it to be the target. These guys would get into a fight. The problem here for, I think, SCP-096 is that, as far as we know, first off, it doesn't seem to interact with other SCPs. Other SCPs seem to interact with certain other SCPs, but no, this one doesn't seem to. It hasn't seemed to have gone up against something that would be its equal in physical combat. Indoraptor, though, may very well be that individual. Just due to its sheer size and ferocity. That's not to say, though, that Indoraptor would have an easy time. From what we can tell, this thing is extremely powerful for its physical features. So it is capable of probably wrestling with Indoraptor very effectively. But between the claws, its teeth, and its own sheer durability of just shaking off like rifle rounds, and we see Chris Pratt firing a gun at it, and it didn't do anything. So we know it is also pretty powerful in its own right, or pretty durable in its own right. So I would go and lean a guess that the fight would probably be a large scuffle. They'd probably be wrestling a while until Indoraptor basically just goes for the head, and if it doesn't bite its head off, breaks its neck or whatever. I think Indoraptor physically probably has the advantage, but there's just not enough on like how SCP-096, how the Shy Guy kills its prey or kills its individuals, how fast it runs, how physically strong it actually is. There's just not enough information on that. So for right now, I will go with Indoraptor, but my opinion could be changed on that, absolutely. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like, comment, share, subscribe. As always, you want us to review something, put in the comments below. Let us know. I'll do a review of it at some point. Hit that bell if you want to be notified, and I'll catch you next time.